Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And Swamiji, my special vanakkam. When I listened to you, which was the last speech of the day, I said that was the convention. That was the highest watermark of the convention. It's a fantastic presentation. Congratulations. I was debating, sitting at the back, whether I should go into innovation at all. Because you heard in the past 2 days innovation and innovation and innovation. And finally, we ended up with spirituality and innovation. It's a beautiful way of ending it. And I thought that was a great way that you ended the conference. I was also very happy about one particular thing, that this is not only corporate innovation that we talked about, we also brought in NGOs and the social sector. Social sector is a very, very important piece, and I'm so happy that's brought up. And we saw that in action in the forenoon. Fantastic, those youngsters who did the job. I went and congratulated those 2 engineering students. I thought that was a fantastic presentation. And you deserve our congratulations for bringing all these youngsters. Usually we are senior people like me, 58 years of service, who come up and speak. But today we have some youngsters making the presentations. While on this, I just want to go back in history. When IIM Bangalore was formed in '73, I was not there. I was the second director. Our first director said, look, we are not going to give Master of Business Administration. We are not going to teach business administration. We are going to be in the social sector. So he picked up 6 social sectors, or he called the public systems. And that included education, which came in for a number of discussions and comments today, health, urban management, rural development, transportation, etc., etc. Now, my predecessor was one Professor Ramaswamy, who is no more. He described these sectors as the undermanaged sectors of the economy. He said these sectors, he picked up these 6 sectors, because he said they are the undermanaged sectors of the economy, which included education. Now, several speakers touched on this topic, and that even came in Swamiji's session. I have been in the field of education, yes, almost from 1958 to 60 years. I look at education, ask the question, is it still an undermanaged area? Now, recently, ASSOCHAM came up with a study and said only 7% of the MBAs outside the IIMs are employable. Only 7%. A few days ago, there was a report in Times of India quoting a leading HR director of the country, saying that only 6% of the engineers are employable in the country. Now look at education. 2 leading professional courses. One says 7%, the other one says 6%. What has happened to our education? Is it still an undermanaged? My answer is yes. So therefore, I was happy that you brought this up again. But do we have an answer as to how do we lift this up and make it globally competitive? Our education is simply not competitive. Even China has gone ahead of us. We have a number of partners. Our business school, Xavier Institute of Management, has a number of partners in China. And we go there and see that what has happened to the business schools of China in the last 30, 40 years. We started actually in 1957. The first MBA came from Visakhapatnam, Andhra University in 1957. So we are in the field from 57, while China came about 1980, 1990. but they have overtaken us. Many of the European business schools which came much later have overtaken us. Now, health management, the moment we talk about, the less said, the better. So many of these sectors are undermanaged or poorly managed. This is one. What is it that we do in the field of education? If you look at the commissions and committees that came in the past 65 years, starting with the Kothari Commission, any number of excellent ideas. One of the last one to come in was Pitroda Commission, what was called the Knowledge Commission. Pitroda Commission came up with excellent ideas. I went through that several times. It is one of the finest reports that came in the field of education in India. That got buried in no time. And nothing came out of it. The main thrust of that report was the only way to salvage Indian education is to give freedom and autonomy to the private sector. And also privatize more and more. Now, Peter Drucker, the great guru, has an interesting observation about what the government can do and what the government cannot do. In his famous book, New Realities, he says that if government has to function successfully, there has to be some favorable conditions. And the favorable condition is there should be no competition. And you could see what happened to Air India. When there was no competition, Indian Airlines survived. The moment competition came, Air India is finished. Education, you look at the results that come out, whether it is ICSE or CBSE or college bachelor's degree results or whatever. You look at the top institutions and we'll see these are all private sector institutions. Now, going back to Drucker, he said, anytime private sector can do something equally well, at least equally well, leave that field to that private sector. And therefore, my answer, the reason why when we come to innovation, to education is, to me, that is fundamental. That is basic. I spent 58 years in this field of education, and that to higher education. And if you ask me how happy I am, I'm really very dukhi. We had great advantage. We had Harvard coming in for IIM Ahmedabad, MIT coming in for IIM Calcutta, and we had all the support from Government of India to establish business schools. Everything going forward, but where are we? Where are we today? Whether it is management education or engineering education. Yesterday at the lunchtime, I met a young man from Andhra. Because Andhra, you get all these stories about 950 business schools, 950 engineering colleges, so on and so forth. I asked this young man who is teaching in a business school, I asked him, what is the condition of your business schools in Andhra? He said, it's pitiable. I asked him, why is it pitiable? He said, everybody joins for their education. I said, why? He said, the fee is guaranteed. Anyone who joins a business school, a department of management, or an affiliated college for management in Andhra, his fee is paid back by the government of Andhra Pradesh. The same in engineering too. Therefore, this young man was telling me, quality keeps on coming down. And that's a story that you see all across the board. Now, when we talk about innovation in this country, and we are given several definitions, and we end up even spirituality and innovation. To me, education is fundamental. This morning or yesterday, somebody made a comparison. Yes, this morning. A comparison between the US education and the Indian education at the school level. My grandchildren study in the US. And so I hear from them about the stories about the schools. And the kind of learning that they have. And I have 2 grandchildren in India studying in Indian schools. I could make the comparison. And I would say what this young man said in the morning was very, very true. And unless we change that education, we cannot expect much of an innovation. Now, innovation starts from the schools, to my mind. From the family and from the schools. Not at the corporate level, it is at the school level that happens. But our schools are terribly, terribly backward. And my answer to that is, please give it to the private sector. The government should be brought to, I wrote somewhere that 80% of education should be in the private sector, no matter which level, whether it's primary level or MBA level. 80% should be in the private sector. Now, I looked at, when I started in 1960, I was at XLRI. In 1971, I joined SAIL as the director of the Management College of SAIL. And then I went to private sector. I was the Oberoi as vice president. And these 2 industries, I was head of HR, head of training. I look back and ask the question, what changes have happened in learning and development in industry? I recently wrote somewhere, physician, cure thyself. Now, we who are the teachers of development in industry, to what extent have we changed? I have been in that field from 1971, when I went to SAIL as the director of the Management College. That was my job. And then the Oberoi, and then IIM Bangalore, and today with Xavier Institute of Management. Look back again, 71 is what, 30, 48 years. And in these 48 years, I asked the question, have we made any changes in learning, development, training, or whatever name that you call it? I would see that almost the same thing. I can go back in 71 when I started and say, it's almost the same. Have we innovated? No. We talk about ROI in training and development. Does it really exist? Or is it only on paper? We talk about problem solving. Is any of our learning and development meant for solving the problems of industry? Or any institution for which this is organized? No, not really. We talk about experiential learning. I'm reminded of the way in which case method came in the business school education. The dean of the Harvard Business School, Dean Gray, when they started, they did not know how to proceed. So Dean Gray only told the faculty, I wanted our class to be interactive. Not one-sided lectures, but interactive. And that was the starting point of the case method, to make these classes interactive. Now, years and years ago, many of these behavioral scientists came up and said, if really learning and development had to take place, it has to be experiential. I want to ask you, to what extent have we converted our learning and development into experiential? Ask that question. Now, this is a beautiful opportunity for us to ask ISTD, and I have been associated with ISTD almost from 1971. And I held whatever position possible. I was president emeritus, and now I think I have another position called chairman of the advisory committee of ISTD, or the highest level one can reach. And therefore, I ask with this conscience, have we changed? Have we innovated? In your training institutions, in your corporates, or wherever you are, what is the change that we brought in? I'll give you one slogan, which guided me in all my work. And that slogan is this: the better we do, more is expected of us. The better we do, more is expected of us. Now, if I look back and ask myself this question, this is something which I ask myself all the time. I recently came across a beautiful piece from Saatchi and Saatchi story. Saatchi and Saatchi, as you would know, is one of the leading advertising firms from England, very successful. In that little write-up, it ends by saying, there is a better way. Says that no matter what we are doing, we know there is a better way. Now, I look back and ask myself this question, look, did that guide me? Did that guide me in the institutions where I worked? Did I ask the question to myself, there is a better way? When I went to IIM Bangalore, appointed as the director, 1985, it was an absolutely terrible condition. I was earlier in SAIL, and we used to say Durgapur steel plant and Durgapur alloy steel plant are the worst in industrial relations in the country. I came to IIM Bangalore and see this was even worse. Indian Express had almost 12 series of writings against IIM Bangalore, saying ungovernable, unmanageable institution. Now it was almost written off. That was the stage in which I come. There's a lot of government interference at that time. And it almost collapsed at this time. And I asked the question myself, oh God, I never realized it was so bad. I would not have come if I ever knew. I did not know it was so bad. I was there 5 years and 9 months, 5 years of the contract. I stayed for 5 years and 9 months. 4.5 years, I fought against the union. In between, there was 2 key ministers at the center level called me and asked, what are you doing? We understand that you trying to wreck the union, destroy the union, dismissing and suspending people right, left, and center. So I went to them and explained what I'm trying to do is Government of India has entrusted with me a job to rebuild this institution as an institution of excellence. And what I'm trying to do is that if you don't want me to do it, I can go back to the Oberois. I have the job waiting for me. I explained to them what I was trying to do. And I decided when I was managing that place, either I will correct it or I will quit. There's no halfway house. No halfway house. And that also took me to this issue of culture with several people, including Swamiji's talk, that issue came, culture. I was very clear when I was there. That's the first time I understand the value of power and the impact of culture of an organization. I understood that unless you correct the culture, and we have a problem with that in this country. I mean it a different way. Culture of performance, culture of achievement, culture of innovation, we don't have it. And that really flourishes in a situation of competition, in an extremely competitive. Now, how is it Americans so competitive and so innovative? Now, ask this question. Now, it's a dog-eat-dog kind of situation. And look at the way those guys are coming with innovation almost every second day. And where are we? I asked somewhere recently a question, is there any Indian product in the international market which is recognized as an international product? Anyone? The Koreans are here, the Japanese are here, Chinese are coming here, and Americans are, of course, all over. Do we have one? No, not one. You tell me one Indian product which is sold in Europe or United States. We are a big country. We are growing at 7.5%, 7.3%, 4 or 5. But do we have one product, one company which is universally recognized? Where is our innovation? Where is our competitiveness? Where is our performance? What has happened to us? Now, I corrected IIM Bangalore. I fought for the culture. I come back to this issue which came up in many of this. Unless you have that culture of performance, achievement, and innovation, it will never progress. Never. And for which one requirement is competitiveness. The more you compete, the more competitive the environment is, the more innovation, which we did not have. I want to end up with one innovation that I did. I'm proud. I stepped out of IIM Bangalore when I was 55. So that is not a very old age, and particularly compared to where I am today. So I was asking myself, what do I do next? The only thing I knew was management education. Well, I knew several things, but something well. So I decided I will devote, there was another personal reason which I am not getting into. Although Preeti's speech this morning, when she said about death, if you remember that, I was reminded of what I went through, but let me hold it back. So this was the only business I knew. But I was an academician. I had no money. Our capital was 10,000 rupees. I brought 7 other people, very serious people. That included Director of XLRI, Director of St. John's Medical College. Since it was going to be a minority institution, the Archbishop of Bangalore, very serious people. But there's no money. It was 10,000 rupees was our capital. And I said, with this 10,000, we are going to build a business school. We struggled in the first 7, 8, 10 years, struggled. I was clear in my mind that on quality, I will not compromise. I was sure I'll find the money. And today we have 3 campuses, Bangalore, Kochi, and Chennai, all in government lands, industry lands. This here, for example, SIPCOT. In Kochi, it is Kenfra. And in Bangalore, it is KIADB. All the places is government land. Beautiful campuses. Start with the 10,000 rupees. And there is one decision from day one. We will never take 1 rupee capitation or donation from the student or his father. We had a second decision. We will have no reservation or quota of any kind. I have to say this. The one which influenced me to get into that was the accidental death of my daughter here in Chennai. And before she died, she told me, Dad, when your term at IIM Bangalore is over, you must establish a business school. And there is some reason why for her to tell me that. And a week before she died, I was in Madras. She died here. And we went together for a program at British Council. I was the chief guest. And whenever I go for such functions, I ask her also to come. She was studying here for her at the Madras School of Social Work for a second year master's. When we are going back to her hostel. She asked me again, Dad, do you remember what I told you some time ago? I said, what? She told me several things, but which one is this? She said, starting a business school. I said, yes, I remember. We'll attend to that at the fullness of time, and I still have 3 more years to go at IIM Bangalore. That was our last conversation. Next week, I get a call from Indian Airlines office here saying that Maria is dead in an accident. So I came back and saw her body in the Madras General Hospital, lying on the floor, white sheet on her. The last talk was in the car, was about founding a business school. And jokingly at that time, she also said, don't be a, what is that expression? Don't be a male chauvinistic pig. Yeah, she said, in all these institutions, you have 80 to 90% men. Dad, you should do one thing. Please treat equally men and women. Last year, in our graduation, 61% were girl students. The highest percentage. I began to think that was an accident, was very, very difficult to happen. I began to think this is a message that came to me. It's a very freak accident, very difficult accident. And this is the last thing she told me. And I said, I'll devote my life entirely for this. I lost one Maria, and I thought I'll create for the country thousands of Marias. Let me conclude with something which gave me great satisfaction. AIMA has a national competition to pick up the 2 best MBAs of the country who are described as the champions of India. 2014, first time we won it. It's a great thing, great celebration. This is usually conducted at the zonal level, south, north, east, west, mid-central, and then finally at Delhi. This year, that is 2017-18, the same. Champions of India, all the top business schools compete, all the top ones, because you are then described as the champion of India. In the South India competition, which was conducted in Coimbatore, all the 3 positions, first, second, and third, our students won. Then they go to Delhi for the finals. November, I think. And believe me, again for a second time, our students won both the first and the second prize of Indian competition. You know why I said that? This is a way of understanding the quality. And when these girls came back, both were girls, the ones who were on the top, both were girls. And when they came back and told me in excitement, sir, we won, I thought of my daughter and what she said, don't be a male chauvinistic pig. I built the institute which she wanted. I thought that was an innovation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.